Let your faith be bigger than your fears. There is a silent battle that takes place within every human being, a constant negotiation between two unseen forces, fear and faith. One whispers of danger, limitation, and loss. The other speaks of possibility, purpose, and trust. One contracts the heart, the other expands it. One insists that we are alone and vulnerable. The other reminds us that we are supported by something greater than ourselves. Spiritually speaking, the quality of our lives is often determined by which of these voices we choose to listen to. Fear is not inherently negative. It is in many ways a natural and necessary response to uncertainty. It has helped human beings survive by alerting us to potential threats and prompting caution when needed. But the problem arises when fear ceases to be an occasional guide and becomes a permanent resident of the mind, when it begins to shape our perception of reality in ways that limit our growth and obscure our inner strength. Fear thrives on imagination. It projects worst-case scenarios into the future, convincing us that failure is inevitable, that rejection is unbearable, that change is dangerous. It magnifies the unknown until it appears insurmountable. It encourages us to remain in familiar environments, even when they no longer nurture us, because the discomfort of stagnation feels safer than the risk of transformation. In this way, fear creates invisible boundaries around our potential. Faith, on the other hand, is the willingness to step beyond those boundaries, not because we are certain of the outcome, but because we trust in the process. It is the quiet conviction that even when we cannot see the path ahead, there is meaning in the journey. Faith does not eliminate fear, it recontextualizes it. To let your faith be bigger than your fears is not to pretend that fear does not exist. It is to acknowledge its presence without allowing it to dictate your choices. It is to recognize that uncertainty is an inherent part of life and to move forward anyway, guided by a deeper sense of purpose. From a spiritual perspective, faith is less about adherence to specific doctrines and more about an inner orientation toward trust. It is the belief that life is not random or chaotic, but imbued with opportunities for growth and understanding, even when those opportunities are disguised as challenges. This trust is cultivated through experience. Consider the moments in your life when something did not go according to plan, when a door closed unexpectedly, or a situation unfolded in a way that felt painful at the time. In hindsight, you may have come to see how that experience contributed to your development. Perhaps it taught you resilience, clarified your values, or redirected you toward a more fulfilling path. Faith allows us to approach present difficulties with the understanding that they may hold similar lessons. It invites us to interpret obstacles not as punishments, but as invitations to evolve. Fear, however, often resists this interpretation. It focuses on immediate discomfort and assumes permanence. It convinces us that the pain we feel now will last forever, that the risk we take will inevitably lead to loss. When fear dominates, we may avoid pursuing our aspirations. We may remain silent when we wish to speak, stay in environments that diminish us, or postpone dreams indefinitely. Each act of avoidance reinforces the belief that we are incapable of navigating uncertainty. Faith interrupts this cycle. It encourages us to take small steps into the unknown, even when the outcome is uncertain. It reassures us that we possess the inner resources necessary to adapt and grow. It reminds us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act in spite of it. In spiritual practice, cultivating faith often begins with awareness. We learn to observe our thoughts without immediately accepting them as truth. When fear arises telling us that we are not good enough, that we will fail, that we will be judged, we can pause and question its validity. Is this belief grounded in reality, or is it a projection of past experiences? This questioning creates space. Within that space, Faith can emerge not as blind optimism, but as a balanced perspective that acknowledges both risk and possibility. Meditation, prayer, or contemplative reflection can support this process by quieting the mental noise that amplifies fear. In moments of stillness, we reconnect with a deeper sense of presence, a part of ourselves that is not overwhelmed by every passing thought or emotion. This deeper presence is often described as the soul, the true self, or the inner witness. It is the aspect of our being that remains steady even when circumstances fluctuate. When we align with this presence, we experience a sense of stability that is not dependent on external conditions. Faith grows in this alignment. It becomes less about controlling outcomes and more about trusting our ability to respond to whatever arises. We begin to understand that life's uncertainties are not necessarily threats, but opportunities to engage with the world more fully. Letting your faith be bigger than your fears also involves surrender. Surrender in this context does not mean passivity or resignation. It means releasing the illusion that we can control every aspect of our lives. It means accepting that some variables will always remain beyond our influence and choosing to focus on what we can control, our intentions, our actions. This acceptance can be liberating. When we no longer feel compelled to manage every possible outcome, we free ourselves from the constant tension of anticipation. We become more present, more attentive to the unfolding of each moment. Fear often pulls us into the future, imagining what might go wrong. Faith brings us back to the present, reminding us that this moment is manageable. In practical terms, this might mean taking a step toward a goal, even when you feel uncertain, initiating a conversation that you have been avoiding, or allowing yourself to explore a new path despite the risk of failure. Each of these actions reinforces the belief that you are capable of navigating life's complexities. Over time, the balance shifts. Fear may still arise, but it no longer holds the same authority. Faith becomes the dominant influence, guiding your decisions with a sense of purpose and openness. This shift does not guarantee that everything will go smoothly. Challenges and setbacks are inevitable, but it does transform your relationship with them. Instead of viewing difficulties as evidence of inadequacy, you begin to see them as integral parts of the journey. You approach them with curiosity rather than dread, asking what they might teach you. This perspective fosters resilience. It allows you to recover from disappointments more quickly, to adapt to changing circumstances, and to maintain a sense of hope even in the face of adversity. Importantly, faith is not static. It requires ongoing nourishment through reflection, connection, and intentional practice. Surrounding yourself with supportive individuals, engaging in activities that align with your values, and dedicating time to spiritual exploration can all strengthen your capacity to trust. As your faith deepens, you may notice a subtle but profound transformation in the way you engage with life. Decisions that once felt overwhelming become more approachable. Risks that once seemed insurmountable become opportunities for growth. The unknown, rather than appearing as a void, becomes a field of potential. You begin to move not from a place of avoidance, but from a place of alignment. In this alignment, fear loses its ability to define your limits. It becomes a signal rather than a command, a reminder to proceed with awareness, but not an obstacle to progress. Faith in turn becomes the compass that guides you through uncertainty. It assures you that even when the path is unclear, you are capable of finding your way. To let your faith be bigger than your fears is to choose trust over doubt, openness over contraction, possibility over limitation. It is to recognize that while fear may always be present, it does not have to be in control. And in that recognition, you discover a freedom that allows you to engage with life, more fully embracing its challenges, celebrating its joys, and trusting in your capacity to grow through it all.